All right, everybody, welcome back to the Delegation Roundtable. I have a very, very, very special guest that maybe we tricked onto coming on here. I'm not exactly sure, but someone that I've looked up to for years. I've had the opportunity to meet him in person and learn from him as well. Phenomenal businessman, husband, father, entrepreneur, speaker as well. That's actually how I got to meet you. But if it's your first time listening to the show, make sure you give us a like, leave any comments or questions you have for Paul that I can make sure I get answered, and subscribe to our channel, share this content, invite it, or send it to one friend you feel like who could benefit from learning from someone that frankly is very, very accomplished and has much more meat on the bone left in his career. But it's my distinct pleasure to welcome Paul Alex Espinoza to the show. Paul, thanks for coming on, man.
Ben, thank you, bro. And thanks for the invite. It's been a while, dude. I know it's been a couple of years since we were mastermind together, but I'm glad that you reached out, dude. This is going to be a great conversation.
I couldn't agree more. And I got a brief glimpse at FHL when you were hosting your roundtable. Remember that night was a blast. You know, it's almost like you need bleachers from people wanting to come in and listen to you. It's like the fun chaos that we would create back in the day. But, you know, I know your story pretty well, and I know our audience pretty well, and I know it's going to resonate with a ton of them. And I'd love to start, if you don't mind, I can take this wherever you'd like it, but I'd love for you to tell at first, let's give the picture now, and then we'll work our way backwards. But if someone listening to this show happens to live under a rock and doesn't know who you are, tell us about you and your business right now.
Yeah, my business right now, I'm the founder of cashwipe.com. We're a fintech platform. Basically, in plain English, guys, because I like to stay away from jargon, we are a credit card processing company that does two things. We can help any business, whether you're in the e-com space or whether you have a brick and mortar business, wipe out 100% of your fees. And we could get into that in the next couple of minutes because usually people are like, processing fees, you could get rid of that? Let's rock, right? Tell me. And then the second thing we do is we actually got into helping business owners launch their own credit card processing business within their own town and city. So now think about it like this. If you're a business owner and you're using Square, Clover, Toast, any of the payment processing companies like Stripe, Fanbases, WAP, we can basically be as competitive as them. But here's the cool part about this. We give you access to the network where you're able to process your own payments and you actually get a piece of the pie off of your own services. And people are like, no way, I could double dip. I can only sell my services and I could get residuals off of that. We're like, yes, it's possible. But you just have to have the right connections, basically the network, access to the network.
That's that's definitely. A lot of sales scripts have like part one and part two, where when you get to part two, it's like, well, how much? How does that work? Or how, you know, you drumming up that curiosity. So it's like, wait, what do you mean? How can you can do that? You sure can. So I want to unpack that at length during this show. But, you know, you always weren't in the fintech realm. You've actually got a very cool background, in my opinion. I've always been an advocate of, you know, law enforcement, getting into that realm. And actually, when I was in college, I had no idea what I was supposed to do, or in high school with my life. And I took those personality tests like the counselors make you do. And my top three were enlisting in the military, being a farmer, or in law enforcement. And I'm like, interesting. I didn't know any of that. I don't know what a 5'6", you know, skinny, slow guy could do in law enforcement, or how intimidating I could ever be. So I was like, I got to figure something out. So I started selling stuff on the computer. But tell us about your background in law enforcement and how that even came about. How did that idea enter your world?
Yeah, it's actually very unique, man. Almost very similar background as you. Where I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. The one thing that I did want to do is just make my mom proud. She was an immigrant from Peru, man. Single mother, raised me and my two sisters who basically the entire family got into the medical field. They were all either registered nurses, LVNs, phlebotomists. I was the only one, like the black sheep of the family, that was just like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm sort of like good at like selling, and I'm also good at talking to people. So let me go ahead and try my hand in sales. And at the age of 21, I basically dropped out of college. I was supposed to transfer to a 4-year college from community college.
Where'd you
And
grow up?
Northern California. So San
Cool,
Francisco
okay.
Bay Area.
Didn't mean to interrupt
was
you.
a re-
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, you're good, dude. You're good. And I always tell people this. I mean, the Bay Area, it's a nice place to be born and raised, but nowadays it's like super expensive to live there. And then also it's just the entire state, for some reason, it is like homeless central. And it's, that could be another episode that we could talk about. But with, with that being said, born and raised there for majority of my life. And at the age of 26, I basically transitioned from corporate America to law enforcement. If you were to ask me why I did that, I think it was just because in my mid 20s, I was looking for fulfillment and purpose. And I didn't really have a mentor or anyone to guide me in life. So I just went with my gut feeling, like any entrepreneur would, and basically just burn the boats and go all in. So that's what I did, man. I was just like, hey, I'm going to apply to every single agency in the San Francisco Bay Area, including the city of Oakland. At that time, it was one of the most dangerous cities in America. I guess I told myself, if I was going to be a police officer and I want to help people and I want to experience how it is to be a cop's cop, I need to go ahead and work in one of the most dangerous cities just to see it all, to experience it, right? And that's what I did, man. I applied, and at the age of 26, I got admitted to academy, 6 months of paramilitary training, which I never experienced getting yelled at in my life. So it was a very unique experience for me. You know, I would just tell my instructors, I was like, I will do whatever you tell me to do. Just don't yell at me, you know, because I just never got used to that, man. Yeah. And I guess that's sort of what got me in trouble in police academy and during my law enforcement career, because I never got used to the whole paramilitary style of law enforcement. And majority of my coworkers were either Marines, Navy, Army. They came from the military. They came from that background. So I was a black sheep in the department again, because I came from a sales background. So I was super good at talking. I would, people would say I was really good at what they would call verbal judo, which meant like just talking yourself out of situations. And in police work, that's very important, man, because you don't want to consistently just fight everybody. You don't want to go ahead and like raise a situation and make it worse than what it is, right? Because at the end of the day, whenever people meet police officers, they have a bad stigma, right? Because it's typically they're meeting a cop because it's the worst day of their life, or something happened, right? I've never seen a situation where somebody's looking forward to meeting us. We're usually just there when people need our help. And that's the way I saw it. So for the next 7 years, I went through different units, man. Within 2.5 years, I got selected to go into a very unique unit, which was a task force where we targeted high-level narcotic traffickers, ranging all the way from Mexico, from Canada, from just about anywhere, man. And it was straight out of the movies. Some of the operations and things that I learned during my time in that unit. I was there for about 3.5 years. I was working undercover. I guess gained a lot of momentum, because here's the one thing that I learned when I was in law enforcement. I learned structure. I learned how to become a leader by going ahead and emphasizing public speaking, the way that I articulate myself. And then also I had great mentors. And this was the very first time in my life, Ben, that I actually experienced how it was to have someone as close as a father figure to me out of my entire life, man, at the age of like 27, 28, to really
in
just
law
guide
enforcement.
me. In law enforcement, dude, you know, I had great partners during my detective years, and they were just like, dude, like, we like you because you're like an old soul. Like you work hard, you don't complain, and you just get stuff done. And it's true, man. Like I lived it. I embodied law enforcement. Dude, I enjoyed it. I genuinely enjoyed it
Yeah.
just because the investigation behind it, the stories that you would hear, the people that you would help, it brought me a lot of fulfillment. Okay. And then long hours, dude. Yeah. I mean, that's part of my story, which I tell people now that I'm in digital marketing and also running a couple different businesses, especially CashSwipe, is that a big part of my story is location and time freedom. And one thing that I learned is that, with first responders, they really rely heavily into overtime. And that's how a lot of first responders are actually able to, I'm going to say, survive in California. It's because the cost of living is just outrageous, my man. Yeah. So the only way in order to be in a decent neighborhood, the only way to actually provide for your family, especially being a first responder in California, is to work a humongous amount of overtime. And believe it or not, 5 out of the 7 years that I was working in law enforcement, I was working anywhere between 80 to 100 hours a week. Now, if you were to say like, Paul, how are you capable of doing that without sleep and all that? I'm going to tell you something, guys, right now. It is the most unhealthiest thing you will ever do to yourself, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And what it created for me was a very toxic environment that I did not know was breaking me down slowly, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And it is a rat race to the end. And what do I mean by that? Well, for a lot of people that are not familiar, don't know anybody that's in law enforcement, typically there is a high rate of police officers after a few years when they retire, which usually the retirement age is around 50. They usually pass away from a heart attack, from a stroke. And that's the unseen truth here. And I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer on this, but it's the unseen truth, man. It's just a lot of people don't realize that as humans, as people, we are not meant to work 80 to 100-hour work weeks. And, with the cost of inflation, with everything that's going on, man, there are tons, and I'm talking about millions of people nowadays that cannot live off of one salary. I know Nehemiah Davis. Yeah, he's been part of Russell's group for a very long time. But we became good friends once I got into the digital marketing space. But he always has this saying: if you only have one source of income, you're only one step away from poverty. And I'm such a big believer in that, man. It's just like that's why I've always believed in having either a side hustle, passive income, residual income, investments, stocks, real estate. I've been investing in real estate since the age of 21, dude. That is something that my mom taught me. She's like, if anything, if you're going to spend your money, spend it on buying property, right? You can never go wrong. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's good for wealth preservation, right? But when you're looking for cash flow, you really want to look into like, okay, how can I compound cash flow in order to make myself more money faster? Because here's the other thing now. I mean, you and I, now that we're like new fathers, right? Your kid is about to be 1 year old. My kid is about to be 6 months here on the 20th. I realized that, wow, what a blessing it is to be in an industry where, number one, I have location freedom. So I'm able to work anywhere in the world that I would like. Yeah. But then the second thing is I really focused on very simple concepts, simple businesses that allowed me to go ahead and actually compound my cash flow every single month. And towards the end of my law enforcement career, that's exactly what I did. I ended up not only getting hurt on the job, but then also I switched to units where the last 2 years of my career, I switched to the special victims unit. So I had a lot of downtime after I would go ahead and finish work at the end of the day. And with me, I've always been a avid thinker, dude. I've always been what you would call proactive. So I was just like, dude, I got to figure something else out. Like I got time on my hands now. I'm not working the crazy hours that I was working narcotics. What else could I do? And funny enough, whenever I tell people this, they're like, dude, that's so weird. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is weird that a cop would want to go ahead and invest into ATMs, automated teller machines. But it was because I had a friend that worked at the department. And I believe that everybody has a friend like this, that they love to go ahead and talk about different concepts and ideas, but they never execute. And even though he was a really good friend of mine, you know, I still talk to him. He's still like, he's a dreamer. He's not a doer. He's a dreamer. So when he told me this idea, it was actually 2 years before I actually started it. And it wasn't until I finally realized, I was like, you know what? I'm making great money here in law enforcement, especially being here in California. You know, I have everything that I want. I'm essentially living an American dream. But in my mind, if I stopped working overtime, I wouldn't be able to afford my lifestyle anymore. And I couldn't have that happen, man. So essentially, in my mind, instead of living the American dream, I always tell people I was living the American trap. And that's what happens with a lot of people, man. Just imagine you finally buy that dream house you've always wanted. But guess what? You put a big deposit down and now you're house broke. You're essentially house broke. What else can you do? How can you experience life? How can you go ahead and travel? How can you make time to go ahead and spend with your kids? So ultimately, as I got older, right? Now I'm leaning more towards 28, 29 at this time when I started thinking about ATMs. And I was just like, this is such a simple concept and I have sales experience. Let me try it. So I took two weeks off of work and I hit the streets, man. I put on one of my old suits from corporate America and I was able to go ahead and grab 6 locations within those 2 weeks. I was like, this is great. Let me go ahead and invest some money. Let me invest some money into some machines, talk to the manufacturers, talk to the processing companies, and set this up. And all in, at that time, I spent around $12K. Well, 2 months after the fact, I think I made about $50. And I was just like sick to my stomach, dude. Because I was just like, I just invested $12,000. I made $50. I don't even want to tell my friends. I don't even want to tell my ex at that time. I don't want to tell my mother at that time. I was like, dude, they're gonna clown me. They're going to say, what a joke. What are you doing? Stick to police work, right? So then, lucky enough, through Facebook, believe it or not, right? And that's how you guys know I'm a millennial. Facebook out of all the social media platforms. I actually meet my very first mentor online, okay? And he had thousands of ATMs. I met him through a Facebook group. That's why I'm such a big believer in Facebook groups. I'm such a big believer now on the platform School, Love School, and all these community-based digital platforms. So I met him through there, and basically, at that time, I think I paid him like $1,000, and I told him, hey, dude, I'm not gonna bug you all the time. I just need help on how to optimize and get better locations. And not only, number one, did he give me the information that I needed at that time, but then the second thing, and this is a big needle mover for a lot of you guys listening right now, your network is your net worth. And I know it sounds so cliche, but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, I never would have met Ben if I never would have invested into a mastermind. I never would have
bring that up.
Yeah. I never would have met some great entrepreneurs like Nehemiah Davis if I've never would have invest into my first digital course with Dan Henry. So at the end of the time, that's just the way it goes. I'm a big believer in investing in yourself, because if you guys are listening right now and you guys are in the info space, you guys doing digital marketing, or you're selling a product, and somebody asks you, well, did you actually do the same action that you are selling? And how does it look if you go ahead and you're like, no, I've never invested X amount of money? Okay, then why would you be selling it? So at the same time, I emphasize that with everybody. It's just like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So after 3 months, dude, I then was able to change those machines, place them in other locations. And after 3 months, I netted $3,000 in residual income. Changed my life. Dramatically
Was that
changed
the
my
biggest
life.
thing? Because that's a huge deal. So when you connected with your mentor in the Facebook group, did they start to give you some ideas? Because, obviously success leaves clues. They have gone down the path you're trying to go. Did they give you the insight that you might need to move these ATMs around and that's what led to it?
Correct. One thing
Yeah.
that right there, my mentor had told me is like, think about it like this, Paul. These machines are considered floating assets. And because they're considered floating assets, just because you get a bad location doesn't mean that's the location you end up with. That's a great part about that business at that time, right? And we're talking about 2018, guys. Okay. I no longer do ATMs. I moved on to a different industry, which we're going to be talking about here in the next couple minutes. But at that time, it was gold for me. Why? Because you guys got to understand my environment during that time. I was under a very toxic, high risk environment where I was like, I got to make this work, or I got to make this work. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck working 80 to 100-hour work weeks. So my mind was simple business. It builds residual income, and the amount of time it took to make that $3,000, the same amount of time it would take to make that $3,000 on overtime. It would take me an additional 30 to 40 hours a week to make the same amount of money. So to me, I was just like, dude, I'll exchange 2 hours for $3K. That to me is good money at that time. So then after 18 months, I was able to bring that residual profit up to 12 to 15,000 a month. And my mentor was a huge contributor because of that. The reason why I emphasize your network is your net worth is because he provided me with information that led me to close these massive accounts. And at that time, dispensaries were popping out of everywhere in California. We're talking about marijuana dispensaries, okay? And guess what? The federal government regulations, they can't use credit card machines. So they have to use cash. It was a cash cow in Cali, man. So each location was profiting me around $1,500. And I had quite a few of them per month.
Yeah.
So I had quite a few of them because of my mentor. My mentor had the connection with the owners nationwide. So he was traveling, he was taking flights to go ahead and install machines. He's like, hey, dude, do you want the ones in the Bay Area? You're a capable guy. I trust you, and you're in law enforcement. Dude, I trust you. I was like, oh, like, see, that never would have happened if I never would have invested that very first time with that very first mentor, right? Completely changed my life. So then the next phase of this whole story, guys, and just to summarize it for you, so because it's a long story, in 2020, I finally go back full force on social media. Now, mind you guys, yes, I met my mentor on Facebook, but I would dabble on Facebook once in a blue moon. I was never a social media guy. Plus, when I joined law enforcement, I didn't really want to use social media because that's how people get in trouble, man. I went into law enforcement in 2014. I was working undercover. I don't need anyone to know where I'm at, who I'm at, my family, any of that, right? So I was off the grid, if you want to call it that, for about 80 years. And in 2020, I went back in full force, started going ahead and doing research. I actually got targeted on Facebook ads by Russell, by Dan Henry. I don't know if I just, I spoke it into existence and Zuckerberg heard me through the algorithm, but they landed their books. They landed my books right in front of me with a book funnel where, hey, you pay the shipping, you'll get our books for free. And I did that. And I remember those books, man, they completely changed my life, dramatically changed my life. And I must have read them like 8 times before I actually jumped on a call with anyone. And once I jumped on the call, to me, I was just like, hey, this has to work. I remember even the consultant on the call was just like, hey, dude, we're going to give you one opportunity to invest right now. If you don't invest 10K, then the next call will be 15,000. They put massive urgency on that call. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to pay an additional 5K. So, okay, I'll invest. So I ended up paying 10K, and you guys are going to laugh at me, but it dramatically changed my life. I paid 10K and I didn't even know what I bought. All I knew was that they said, okay, what info product do you want to sell online? And I told him, well, I'm only good at two things at that time: being a cop and ATMs. And the consultant goes, no disrespect, Paul, you're a nice guy, but no one likes cops, dude. And I laugh it off. I'm cool. I'm cool like that, dude. So I'm like, I laugh. I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's go with the ATM route. He's like, yeah. You'll build a marvelous ATM program, Paul. With the experience you have, it'll go good. So then, what I like to call from April of 2020 all the way to almost December of 2020, dude, I was trying to figure it out. 6 months of just trying to figure it out. I'm still a cop. I still have my tangible ATM business at the time. COVID happens. So now I'm in the house. And I'm just like, I'm trying to make this work. I'm trying to go ahead and record ads. And guys, I'm not a selfie guy, right? Even if you go ahead and follow me on Instagram right now, Paul Alex, you'll still see I'm not a selfie guy. I'm super awkward when it comes to videos and pictures and all that stuff. That's my wife. She loves doing all that. Yeah. So when it comes down to it, I'm just like, you know what? As long as the information is valuable, I believed that people would buy. So then by November and December, I made a few $1,000s off of info product. At that time, I had launched a program called 30dayatmbiz.com. Not the sexiest name. I know it sounds awkward, but it was my first program. It was my first baby, dude. And I was trying to figure it out. And I was taking calls and people were just like, well, I just don't want information. I want the business built. I want the machine. I want like, VIP service from you, Paul. Like, I just don't want information. So I was like trying to figure it out, stressing out so hard. And then I remember on my mother's birthday, January 15th, 2021, it was 2 hours before her birthday dinner. And I take a call with a Navy veteran out of Philadelphia. And this was the moment that changed my life. I go on the call and very nice gentleman. He goes, so Paul, give it to me straight. I'm military, you're law enforcement. Just don't BS me. Like, can you get me the ATM? And in the back of my mind, I was just like, that's not what I'm selling, but I can. So I was like, okay, yes, I could get you the ATM. He's like, okay, can you help me find a location? At that time, I had the resources. I had a call center that I was utilizing, but I wasn't selling that. But then in the back of my mind, I go ahead and I say, you know what? Yes, I'll figure it out. So machine, location. And he goes, can you mentor me? I was like, how often? Because I'm already busy, dude. And he goes, well, only when I need you. Okay, sure. I'm just trying to make this work. All right, let's do this. All right, how much? I didn't even have a number for that because that's not what that wasn't even what I was selling. Mm-hmm. I was trying to sell him a $500 info course on ATMs and how to do it in 30 days. The custom offer, which was basically a done with you concept at that time, I priced it at $6,500. And the guy was like, done. How do I pay? And I was in shock.
That guy got the steal of the century. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, wait, you're going to pay $6,500 to do this? He goes, yeah. Like, are you going to send me the invoice? What's going on here? And I was like, wow. Okay. All right. I'll send you the invoice. Let's get this done. I remember I called the manufacturer for the ATMs. I called the owner of the call center. I called my processor at that time, and I had a Zoom meeting with them. And they probably thought I was crazy. But I told them, gentlemen, by next month, I will have 30 paying clients. And we're going to grow it slowly but surely. And we will have 100 clients by next year, every single month. And they looked at me crazy. They're like, yeah, whatever, Paul. That year, by March of 2021, which is approximately 2.5 months after, well, actually not even 2.5 months, dude. It was like 2 months after that first deal happened. I made $130,000 off of that concept in a single month. I was still working as a detective. I still ran my tangible ATM business. it was COVID. It was in the middle of COVID.
Mm.
And I remember I went to my mom. Mom, should I quit law enforcement? I just basically made my year's salary in a month. And she goes, benefits. Don't do it. Benefits. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to quit. So I'm trying to still handle all of this. I'm under a lot of pressure because I'm sleeping like 3-5 hours a day at this time, right? It's crazy. And I have no staff. It's just me. I'm doing fulfillment. I'm doing the marketing. I'm doing the copywriting. I'm doing the sales. I'm taking the triages, the consultation, everything, dude. Right? And I finally go to a friend, a good friend of mine. He just got promoted to a sergeant at that time. And I tell him what had occurred. I told him, dude, look at my Stripe account. And he goes, bro, are you stupid? Just quit. Like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing here? Like, go build a multi-million-dollar business right now. And I was like, okay, fair enough. It took that one person that had belief in me.
Yeah.
That was just like, dude, like, are you blind? Like, go build now. 2 weeks, I went all in. I burned the boats, okay? Not only did I put my 2 weeks into the department, but then the day after I put in my 2 weeks, I don't know, it was almost refreshing because I was just like, wow, this is like new. It was like an adrenaline rush, right? Because I was just like, I've never, ever done anything like this. So I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to move out of the Bay Area. And guys, I'm not telling you to do what I did, like just go all gung ho and just burn the boats with everything because, you know, obviously I had like reserves just in case that something went sideways. But at the end of the day, it just felt right because I was just like, you know what? New opportunity. I want to be somewhere where I'm going to be inspired. So I ended up moving to San Diego. I sold my house within a month. At that time, thankfully, the real estate market was great. So I made profit and picked up everything, dude. Drove down to San Diego, moved down there. And by my first year, the business did 1.8 million. By the second year, that same business did about 8 million. And by the following year, it went up to 18 million. It was just insane. It was insane how just everything happened, dude. But basically the major needle mover behind all this, guys, is it never would have happened if I never would have gotten that one mentor that just set me off. And what I like to call people, it is the snowball effect, it's the domino effect. Yeah. It's just like the minute that you guys get help from someone who already has that level of experience and expertise, it is gold. It is worth in gold because it will cut so much time out of you trying to figure it out yourself, right? And it will give you belief, especially when you work with somebody who's a good person, who's optimistic, who's driven. You know, you want to surround yourself with people that believe in you, people that are optimistic, people that are solution driven. This is why I still invest in masterminds. This is why I've met people like Ben. This is why I've been mentored by people like Russell Brunson, Andy Elliott, all these great entrepreneurs that are multi-nine-figure entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, it's just like the only way you're able to get to different levels in life is to actually get the advice of people that have already been there. And I'm such a big believer in that, dude.
I think that is the human cheat code to life, honestly. It's good to get to a point to where, you know, hey, how much for an hour of your time? How can I skip the line, if you will? And I actually heard on Instagram Eddie Malouf say this on a podcast, and shout out Eddie, my dog, but talking about his first ever, I think, mastermind. He invested $3,000 for a day with Billie Jean, his office in San Diego, which if I think it's like downtown-ish, if you ever like driven past it. This mic doesn't fall over. And he was like, I'm going to at least 5x this money or 10x, whatever it was. So for $3,000, he's able to put it in and implement everything, grow his agency. He's like, ever since that moment, I've always just dumped cash into mentorship, masterminds. Like, I can use this for my own advantage. And I am living proof because of all of that. even doubling down on business, making close friends, who then took me on vacation to where I actually met my wife, who was at the resort that we were vacationing at. So that's my wife
That's cool.
today, right? Like
That's cool. That's
um,
cool.
it's funny how it all, trickles down. And I want to make a point of something that, you had said of when you made the jump from law enforcement, full-time detective with a bit of a side hustle, a lucrative one, might I add, into full-time of what you were doing, really scaling it to the stratosphere. As you just mentioned, you guys grew, I mean, exponentially. But I view, let's call it side hustle. It's almost like two trains moving at the same time. And your full-time job, maybe your side hustle is a little behind it. And some wait until that train catches up to the other, then they jump over, or some just jump from the get-go. Did you want to do that on purpose to where you wanted to keep scaling it to a point, and then once your friend was like, dude, you got to go scale this thing, you're like, I mean, heck, he's totally right. Is that what you in your mind wanted the whole time?
To be honest, man, I didn't have that planned.
Okay.
I did not have that planned where I was like, okay, if I surpass my income at my 9 to 5, then I'm out of here. Right. Because you got to understand, dude, like the job, law enforcement, it fulfilled me so much that I genuinely enjoyed doing it. And that's the thing. Like I always tell people this, especially my clients nowadays, because ever since 2021, since that first person that, I just vividly remember customizing the offer, and then he's who helped basically create it by asking me the right questions, right? And it's funny how that works. And now 6,000 clients later, dude, it's one of those things where not everybody wants to turn the side hustle into their full-time job or their full-time career.
Fair
Some
point.
people, and what I realized is there's just some people that just want some extra cash, dude, just to spend time with like their family or whatnot, right? And I tell people the same thing. It's just like, was ATMs going to be my forever thing when I had left law enforcement? No, I saw it more like a stepping stone. Realistically, I knew I always wanted to help people, and I knew that I was capable of doing it in many ways. Obviously coming from wearing the uniform to now helping people with finances, but now I'm going more into the realm of life transformation, which is huge, especially being a new father, dude, because especially what I see nowadays is that a lot of people don't believe in themselves. And it's not their fault. It's just they've been conditioned because of their environment or possibly the people around them or the people that raised them. And it's not their fault because, I have a wonderful mother, but she was very hard on me, extremely hard on me, where she is very old school. She's still very old school. And that's my mother. I love her to death. But me and her, we disagree in a lot of things when it comes to, how I raise my son, like what I want him to do. Homeschooling them, right? And if you guys look at my socials, I talk about homeschool all the time now because I'm just like, yeah, it's a huge one, man. But she's so traditional so that, she has a limiting belief that being homeschooled is going to limit the way that he speaks to people when he's an adult. And I don't believe that, because you could get him to sports, you could get him into extra activities, you could get him to different circles, man. And it's very similar to why people go to Ivy League colleges, right? They don't go to Ivy League colleges for the education. It's more of the network. It's who you're going to meet there, man. It's the opportunities, just having that name on the diploma when you go ahead and you want to apply for a job, right? But when it comes down to it, no, I could tell you something, man. A lot of people are like, wow, you went through a big transition in 5 years, and I'm still growing every single year, man. The reason why I'm in this industry now with credit card processing, guys, and I didn't touch on this point, was because in 2022, at the peak of my first company with ATMs, one of my business partners, one of the three that I told we were going to scale to 100 clients a month, he was processing all of my machines for all of my clients. We had at that time, we peaked at like 3,800 clients, with each client having anywhere between 1 to up to 20 locations around the United States. So we had a map of the United States.
Yeah. Holy cow.
It looked like chicken pox. we were like, this is pretty cool. But yeah, he had met my newest mentors, Robson and John Sarabia, and they had been in credit card processing, which a lot of people call merchant services. That's a proper term, for like 23 years. And these guys, they're in their 50s. They're very humble, but they're very successful in this industry. And when they had asked Mike, who is the guy I was doing the ATM venture with, hey, can we meet Paul? Mike didn't know that they wanted to meet me to basically give me a proposal. And the proposal was like, hey, we want you to duplicate what you did with ATMs in the digital world, but do it with credit card processing. And when I sat there and I looked at them and I was just like, well, what is the big pain point that a lot of people need with credit card processing? And they're like, dude, look, you know how many business owners right now are paying big banks and large credit card companies an average of 3%, and they're losing that money. They're losing that money, Paul. And I was just like, never thought about that. That was just part of the game. I thought it was part of being a business owner. And they were like, no. In 2014, there was a strategy, which is legal and transparent in all 50 states, called the cash discount. Now, a lot of you guys listening right now might be familiar with this because the only businesses that we really see them at are gas stations. And the business concept is if you pay with cash, then you get a discounted rate off of the product or the service that you are getting.
I've seen it all the time.
Card, you pay a convenience fee. So that was the major hook that basically they sold me on. They were like, right now, less than 10%, it was at that time, less than 10% are using this strategy. And it's primarily gas stations, Paul. But what if we were the first fintech platform to really emphasize this across the board? Restaurant owners, any business out there, dude, med spas, dentists. I mean, just think about it. And I was just like, do you really think people would want to push that on their customers? Aren't they going to lose their customers? And they're like, no, that's a limiting belief. If anything, the approach you have to take, because they're like, Paul, you like helping people. You have to really emphasize that you are trying to help the small business owner. And when they framed it that way, I was just like, you know what? You're right, dude, because I'm a small business owner. It's just like, how much money did I lose, building all these companies to payment processing? It has to be in the millions. They're like, yeah, imagine what could you have done with that money? Could you have gotten more employees? Could you have gotten another office? Could you have bought more equipment? Could you have got more education for your team? Like, what could that have done for you? And I was just like thinking of all this. I was like, man, this is gold. This is a huge pain point. So then I went with that approach and boots to the ground. I used the call center that I had for my ATM company and the resources and the knowledge of selling ATMs. And I hit up my existing clients first. I had an existing book of business with people that had my ATMs in there. And I hit them up first, like, hey, got into credit card processing. Now we could go ahead and double dip and I could wipe out 100% of their fees. There were people that were saving $300 a month. There was people that were saving $3,000 a month. There was people that were saving $1,000 a month. But ultimately, it was helping a lot of my clientels save tens of thousands of dollars a year on their overhead expenses, which it was phenomenal for them. So then the next approach to this, within 2 years, we were able to expand to over 6,000 locations throughout the United States that use our actual processing network and our machines. But the cool part about this is not only did we help business owners, but now we're like, hey, we should really turn this into a business model where we turn it into a profit sharing business model. And it was a very similar concept like I did with the ATMs, where we will go ahead and help you build the startup phase of it. We will help you set up the foundation. We will help you set up the machines. We will help you actually market now with ads. We have an ads agency internally that actually runs ads for all of our clients that hit the demographic in their city. And then we even got to the point now, which we officially launched last month because we were doing a beta test for this basically half of this year, where we now close the deals for our clients. So now we can really get investors getting into this, because it's just like, the investor mindset of, hey, I don't have time, but I have the liquidity and I'm trying to diversify my funds. So now we stepped into that realm, which is pretty cool. So now we almost got it like a membership style type of profit sharing model where year to date, we have 2,000 clients that use this model. And it's working wonderfully, especially with the ads. So now people no longer have to cold call, door knock, or hit the payment, dude. So it really helps emphasize people's time, because time is the most valuable thing in this world, right? How much more time would you guys like to spend with your kids? How much more time would you guys like to go ahead and not report to the office, right? And this business model has changed so many lives, man. I mean, majority of my clients that are 1% of our 1% of our clients, the ones that do very well with this business model, we actually shoulder tap them to come work with us. We tell them, hey, we will love if you could become a coach. We will love if you would come and be, one of our leaders within our organization to train the new clients. So now the community that we built, we base it off the culture. That's what we emphasize, is the leadership culture within our community, where we have existing clients that did very well within their first 6 months to 12 months. And they're the ones coaching the new clients coming in. They're building their mindset. They're building their momentum, dude. And it's a win-win across the board. We're helping business owners across the United States right now wipe off 100% of their fees. We help what we like to call our local business partners, which is our clients that we built the business for them, by giving them a huge chunk of the residuals. And we win as well because we get a little piece of the residuals, but we have all the resources. We invested the millions of dollars into building the platform. They don't have to worry about the fulfillment. They don't have to worry about the infrastructure. They don't have to worry about the legality. They don't have to worry about the underwriting, the processing, the marketing, the closing of the deals. We got all that. So it's a win-win-win across the board, man. It's been wonderful so far.
I absolutely love that. And how big is your team now?
Right now, we got 75 employees. We're spread throughout the United States. We have about 20 of them in the Philippines. We do use VAs as well. Yeah. I'm a big fan, dude. I'm a big fan. And it's a needle mover, especially because guys, if anybody that's listening right now has an info product, or you have a coaching program, or you have a similar done with you, done for you concept like I do, you have to emphasize customer service, speed to lead. I mean, it is huge, especially in 2026. Now we're in what I like to call a trust era, where people just want information fast. And you got to think about it like this. What is going to make you different from them going to ChatGPT, right? It's going to be the level of customer service. They want to feel like people care. And that's what we emphasize. We emphasize culture. We emphasize, hey, you're actually talking to a real person instead of a bot, right? So it's huge. I'm a big fan of using VAs. Our VAs have been with us now for like 2.5, some of them 3 years, since we launched CashWipe. And it's just been wonderful, man.
I love that. And even as a point to the pod title, something I want to hit on, and then I want to hear about how we be involved with CashWipe. But the delegation roundtable, you mentioned when you were on the ATM grind for a while, you did everything yourself, all of it, right? Everything from A to Z. And at some point you hit that ceiling where you're probably like, with the papers in the air, you're the guy, you're like, I need help. I can't do everything alone. What was that moment like for you? And then what did you do to overcome it?
Yeah, it's huge. I really relied on my mentors at that time. At that time, I had invested into 3 different mentors, guys. And they were able to help me out. Like I said, mentorship, self-investment is key here. To me, I still consider myself a rookie. I'm probably like an amateur now. I still don't consider myself a professional, because I haven't been in the game long enough. There's a lot of marketers out there that have been in the game for like 10, 15 years. Mad respect to them, because it's hard. I consider the online space harder than law enforcement. I really do. It takes a lot of thinking, a lot of mental work, dude. It really does. You have to be a thinker, guys. You guys are going to get paid based on how you think. So delegation is key to this. But one big needle mover that I would tell you from personal experience is make sure that you guys know every aspect of your business before you start delegating. The reason why,
love that.
once I start hiring VAs, once I start hiring employees, they're only as good as the person teaching them. And if, let's say, you are mediocre at sales, guess what's going to happen to your sales team? They are going to be mediocre or worse.
Yeah.
Same thing with customer service. If
Yeah.
you don't have standards, if you don't have the SOPs set up, your standards, okay? And now you bring a VA, which the VAs, they're sponges, okay? They're like brand new babies where you have to teach them how to walk. They are going to learn based on what you tell them. So if you're horrible at customer service, you don't follow up with your clientele, your onboarding process is horrible, guess what? They're going to tank as well. So my recommendation, guys, before you guys start delegating, before you guys start hiring employees, just make sure that you are a master of your craft on what you're doing, and you know every single piece of your business, okay? Because you have to lead by example. And also, I'm very proud. This is the proudest thing that I could say on this podcast that I'm proud of. I'm not proud, or I am proud of everything, but what I like to brag about is my retention with the teammates that I have. I don't consider them employees. I consider them teammates. Is a retention. In this space, with the amount of programs there is out there, to train people on becoming appointment setters, customer service, consultants, high ticket closers, all this jazz. I hear horror stories. I hear horror stories of just, agencies, programs, digital marketers being a revolving door. And guys, if you guys want to retain your people, they have to want to perform just like you. They have to want to be just like you. So this, once again, it goes to how you do one thing is how you do everything, guys. I lead by example. And I always tell my people this, just like I'm telling you, Ben, and how I'm telling your audience right now. I would never teach you guys anything that I haven't done myself. I will always use myself as the guinea pig and then get good at what I'm trying to accomplish and then teach you. And that's how it should be. Lead by example.
Yeah. No doubt. And even I know I do want to take up your entire day, because we could go on for hours. But as we begin to wrap up here, let us know, for those who made it this part in the episode, what's next for Cash Swipe? What are you guys up to? What's got you excited the back half of this year?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're building a recurring program now. The done for you ads portion of this, like the marketing portion of this, and then also the closing deals, it's more of a recurring service, which is brand new to us, because typically we would just charge an upfront fee to build the entire business. And then we will tell people, here you go. This is your baby now, right? And it's proven, it's battle tested. And people are like, yes, this is wonderful. But now for the investors that have the liquidity, they just don't have time, which we're getting a lot of those now, is now we build this recurring service where now we're able to offer a la carte services. Where we can have our marketing team manage your ads. We can build up your personal brand. We can build your company's brand. And that's pretty cool, because it's mimic off of what I do on socials, right? And then on the closing the deals part, it's cool. If you don't have time, if you don't want to talk to strangers, we can do that for you now as well. And we can do it on a monthly basis. That's cash flow that compounds month after month. And then eventually, when you guys are ready, you guys can sell the portfolio, or you guys could just have it and pass it on to your kids or your family. But we're going to be here for a long time. We're going to be here for a long time, guys. Merchant services, credit card processing is not going anywhere. We've already have crypto processing in play. Okay. For all my crypto heads out there. We also provide ATMs for all my ATM guys out there. We provide that. We're the only merchant services company platform that actually provides that. So we have a lot of valuable services and items on the table for our clients. But at the end of the day, man, it's just building one of the biggest communities in the FedTech place or platform. And I'm just having fun with it, man. I'm having fun with it. And that's what it's about, guys. It's about building a business, number one, where you look forward to working at. You're having fun with the people that you're building with, and you're meeting cool people just like Ben, right? If it wasn't for this space, if it wasn't for me getting targeted by Zuckerberg on Facebook and getting those free books and reading on digital marketing for the first time ever and spending $10,000 on something I didn't know nothing about, I never would have created none of this at all. I would probably, I don't know, still have my ATM business because it was paying me good residuals. I would probably be like a lieutenant of police right now. Who knows? Life would have been dramatically different nowadays. So that's it. Just take the chance.
Yeah, 100%. And for those who, you've mentioned quite a bit of information and obviously casting the vision for the future. I look forward to following the success of it. If those want to get involved, where should we send them? What do we want them to do?
Yeah, you guys could go to two places. Go to cashswipe.com, or you could go to my Instagram, Paul Alex. Shoot me a DM. Guys, I respond like pretty fast. And then we could just chat from there.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, it's a honor to call you a friend, and it's been awesome to see the rise. I look forward to, again, continuing to follow it. And as our paths continue to cross, man, you're an awesome dude, and I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable.
No, likewise, man. Thank you for being on thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast, bro. This has been great, dude. I'm going to come and visit you in Dallas. I want to check out the space, man. And I know you're going to do great things. You're a great guy.
I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, brother.
Cool. Sweet, man. Let me end this real quick. That was dope.